Disclaimer. This book may contain content that is considered historically inaccurate or culturally insensitive by modern standards. My hope is that by exploring old literature, we will better understand why people of the past thought the way that they did and understand the influences that shape their culture. This video is not intended for young audiences. Hi, I'm Morgan, and today I'm excited to read to you from Out of Door Book, which is the 7th book in a series or collection of books called The Children's Hour, which were published by Houghton Mifflin Co. in 1907. And today I will be reading to you A Visit from the Indians to Bartholomew Gosnold by John Brereton. Also, just a heads up, I apologize if I have poor pronunciation, and this chapter may contain period-typical racism or attitudes, etc. The second day after our coming from the Main, we espied 9 canoes or boats, with 50 Indians in them, coming toward us from this part of the Main, where we, 2 days before, landed, and being loath they should discover our fortification, we went out on the seaside to meet them, and, coming somewhat near them, they all sat down upon the stones, calling aloud to us, as we rightly guessed, to do the like a little distance from them. Having sat a while in this order, Captain Gosnold willed me to go unto them, to see what countenance they would make. But as soon as I came up unto them, one of them, to whom I had given a knife 2 days before in the Main, knew me, whom I also very well remembered, and smiling upon me, spoke somewhat unto their lord or captain, which sat in the midst of them, who presently rose up and took a large bearskin from one that stood about him, and gave it unto me, which was it beaver skin? Just a heads up about this chapter, some of the letters are like U's in place of V's and vice versa. Who presently rose up and took a large beaver skin from one that stood about him, and gave it unto me, which I requited for that time the best I could. But I, pointing towards Captain Gosnold, made signs unto him that he was our captain, and desirous to be his friend, and enter league with him, which, as I perceived, he understood, and made signs of joy, whereupon Captain Gosnold, with the rest of his company, being 20 in all, came up unto them, and after many signs of gratulations, Captain Gosnold presenting their with certain trifles which they wondered at, and highly esteemed, we became very great friends, and sent for meat aboard our shallop, and gave them such meats as we had then ready dressed, whereof they misliked nothing but our mustard, whereas they made many a sour face. While we were thus merry, one of them had conveyed a target of ours into one of their canoes, which we suffered, only to try whether they were in subjection to this owl, to whom we made signs, by shewing him another of the same likeness, and pointing to the canoe, what one of his company had done, who suddenly expressed some fear, and speaking angrily to one about him, as we perceived by his countenance, caused it presently to be brought back again. So the rest of the day we spent in trading with them for furs, which are beavers, luzernes, martens, otters, wildcat skins, very large and deep fur, black foxes, coney skins of the color of our hairs, but somewhat less, deer skins, very large, seal skins, and other beast skins, to us unknown. They have also great store of copper, some very red, and some of a paler color. None of them but have chains, earrings, or collars of this metal. They had some of their arrows herewith, much like our broad arrowheads, with workmanly made. Their chains are many hollow pieces cemented together, each piece of the bigness of one of our reeds, a finger in length, 10 or 12 of them together on a string, which they wear about their necks. Their collars they wear about their bodies like bandoliers, a handful broad, all hollow pieces like the other, but somewhat shorter, 400 pieces in a collar, very fine, and evenly set together. Besides these, they have large drinking cups, made like skulls, and other thin plates of copper, made much like our boar spear blades, all which they so little esteem, as they offered their fairest collars or chains, for a knife or such like trifle, but we seemed little to regard it, yet I was desirous to understand where they had such store of this metal, and made signs to one of them, with whom I was very familiar, who, taking a piece of copper in his hand, made a hole with his finger in the ground, and withal pointed to the main from whence they came. They strike fire in this manner. Every one carrieth about him in a purse a toed leather, a mineral stone, which I take to be their copper, and with a flat emery stone, wherewith glaziers cut glass, and cutlers glace blades, tied fast to the end of a little stick. Gently he striketh upon the mineral stone, and, within a stroke or two, a spark falleth upon a piece of touchwood, much like our sponge in England, and with the least spark he maketh a fire presently. We had also of their flax, wherewith they make many string and cords, but it is not so bright of colour as ours in England. I am persuaded they have great store growing upon the main, and also vines and many other rich commodities, which we, wanting both time and means, could not possibly discover. Thus they continued with us 3 days, every night retiring themselves to the furthermost part of our island, 2 or 3 miles from our fort. But the 4th day they returned to the main, pointing 5 or 6 times to the sun, and once to the main, which we understood that within 5 or 6 days they would come from the main to us again. But being in their canoes a little from the shore, they made huge cries and shouts of joy unto us, and we with our trumpet and cornet, and casting up our caps into the air, made them the best farewell we could. Yet 6 or 7 of them remained with us behind, bearing us company every day into the woods, and helped us to cut and carry our sassafras, and some of them lay aboard our ship. These people, as they are exceeding courteous, gentle of disposition, and well-conditioned, excelling all others that we have seen, so for shape of body and lovely favor, I think they excel all the people of America, of stature much higher than we, of complexion or color, much like a darker olive, their eyebrows and hair black, which they wear long, tied up behind in knots, whereon they prick feathers of fowls, in fashion of a coronet. Some of them are black thin-bearded. They make beards of the hair of beasts, and one of them offered a beard of their making to one of our sailors, for his that grew on his face, which because it was a red color, they judged to be none of his own. They are quick-eyed and steadfast in their looks, fearless of other harms, as intending none themselves. Some of the meaner sort, given to filching, which the very name of saluages, not weighing their ignorance in good or evil, may easily excuse. Their garments are of deer skins, and some of them wear furs around and close about their necks. They pronounce our language with great facility, for one of them one day sitting by me, upon occasion I spake smiling to him these words, "How now, sir, are you so saucy with my tobacco?" Which words, without any further repetition, he suddenly spake so plain and distinctly, as if he had been a long scholar in the language. Many other such trials we had, which are here needless to repeat. Their women, such as we saw, which were but 3 in all, were but low of stature, their eyebrows, hair, apparel, and manner of wearing, like to the men, fat and very well favoured, and much delighted in our company. The men are very dutiful towards them, and truly the wholesomeness and temperature of this climate doth not only argue this people to be answerable to this description, but also of a perfect constitution of body, active, strong, healthful, and very witty, as the sundry toys of their cunningly wrought may easily witness. For the agreeing of this climate with us, I speak of myself, so I may justly do for the rest of our company, that we found our health strength all the while we remained there, so to renew and increase, as notwithstanding our diet and lodging was none of the best, yet not one of our company, God be thanked, felt the least grudging or inclination to any disease or sickness, but were much fatter and in better health than when we went out of England. But after our bark had taken in so much sassafras, cedar, furs, skins, and other commodities as were thought convenient, some of our company that had promised Captain Gosnold to stay, having nothing but a saving voyage in their minds, made our company of inhabitants, which was small enough before, much smaller, so as Captain Gosnold, seeing his whole strength to consist but of 12 men, and they but meanly provided, determined to return for England, leaving this island, which he called Elizabeth's Island, with as many true sorrowful eyes as were before desirous to see it. So the 18th of June, being Friday, we weighed, and with indifferent fair wind and weather came to anchor the 23rd of July, being also Friday, and all bare 5 weeks before Exmouth. Thank you for listening to A Visit from the Indians to Bartholomew Gosnold by John Brereton with me. This chapter had a very great deal of irregular spellings in it, and so I hope that you were still able to understand what was being said. Have a great day! Bye! Here are some photos of the text to help showcase why I was struggling so much with words in this chapter.